Lenovo have made some big changes this year to the Legion 7i. It's thinner, lighter, faster, and now has a stunning OLED screen. So on paper, it's a clear improvement. But paper can't run the latest games. So let's take a closer look at what's actually changed in this review. It looks like it's only available in white in most regions this year. Overall, the design is very similar to last year, with a quality feeling anodized aluminum finish all over. Build quality is solid. There's not much flex to the keyboard deck or screen, and the screen doesn't wobble when typing. The only thing I didn't like is the front edge can feel a little sharp if you brush your hands up on it. The lid hinges feel nice and smooth. No problems if I try pushing back too far, or if I rip the lid open way too fast. The front of the lid sticks out a bit, making it super easy to open with one finger, and the screen almost goes the full way back. This year's 7i is ever so slightly bigger in width and depth, but it's also a little thinner too. It feels very portable, weighing in at 4.3 pounds or 2 kilos by itself, and increasing to 5.9 pounds or 2.7 kilos with the 245 watt charger included. This makes it one of the lightest 16-inch gaming laptops we've ever tested, only really beaten by Asus's Zephyrus G16, which isn't that much lighter. It gets even lighter compared to last year's version with the chargers included, as the new 2025 charger isn't as heavy as what they used to use. My configuration has Intel's Core Ultra 9 275HX processor, Nvidia's RTX 5070 laptop GPU, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 16-inch QHD+ 240Hz OLED screen. But you can customize it, which will affect the price, using the link below. And if it has a good sale, we'll list it on our gaminglaptop.deals website so you can save money. The keyboard has per-key RGB backlighting, and all keys and secondary functions get lit up. Holding the function key highlights the available shortcuts. Brightness can be adjusted between 3 levels or turned off with the function and up and down arrow keys. And you can swap between the first 6 lighting effects with the function and spacebar shortcut. The Legion Space software gives you more lighting customization, including more brightness levels, as well as speed and direction of the effect. You can drag the effects around here, and the first 6 get cycled through with the spacebar shortcut. White keys means there's less contrast with the lighting, so depending on the color, effect, or brightness, the keys can be harder to see, but you can of course turn them off if that's an issue, and just stick to using the lighting in darker environments. I really like the slightly clicky feel of the keyboard, but that's personal preference. The glass touchpad is excellent. Clicks just feel crisp and accurate. We're testing Acer's Helios Neo 16S at the moment. Subscribe for that. But the Legion's touchpad blows it away. Unlike the bigger Legion Pro 7i, the Legion 7i still has some ports on the back, but no Ethernet here. Unfortunately, it's not using the latest Thunderbolt 5, and I would have preferred to have a Type-C on either side so that you've got more options when charging. The display outputs offer a good mix for connecting to discrete or integrated graphics. Connecting to the DGPU gives better performance in games and VR, but connecting to the iGPU for lighter tasks means quieter fans. Getting inside requires removing 8 Phillips head screws, all the same length. But I found it quite difficult to open up, even with pry tools, which are absolutely required. I'll leave a link to these ones I use below. Once inside, we've got the battery down the front, 2 RAM slots just above near the middle, the installed SSD in the primary slot on the right, a spare M.2 storage slot on the far left, neither of which support PCIe Gen 5, and Wi-Fi 7 card just above that. Wi-Fi performance wasn't impressive considering it's the latest Wi-Fi 7, coming in at about half the speed of other Intel-based options. We just generally don't find MediaTek options like this to be as good. At the end of the day, this is more than gigabit speeds, so plenty for most people. However, we had some dropouts with the laptop in another room of our house, which is normally perfectly fine with most other laptops. Speeds from the installed 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD were good, but my SD card can get 2 to 3 times this performance in other laptops. The card does not click in, and it sticks out a little, so watch out not to bump it. The upgrade score is decent as far as 16-inch gaming laptops go, as you've got 2 full-sized M.2 storage slots that can fit drives with chips on both sides, 2 RAM slots, and upgradable Wi-Fi. But I took off half a point for how hard it is to actually get inside. These brands need to copy Asus's new SCAR 16 and make accessing your devices easier. The speakers are found towards the front on the left and right sides, and they sound pretty good. There's some bass, and they're still fairly clear at higher volume, but there was a little wrist rest vibration. The Latencymon results were good in our 5-minute idle test. This year's Legion 7i is powered by a 4-cell 84 Wh battery, so it's smaller compared to the 99.9 Wh battery they used last gen. But this is also probably what helps lower the weight. Unlike previous Legion laptops, I couldn't find an option to automatically lower the screen's refresh rate when you unplug the charger to save power. But there's the Function Plus R shortcut, which lets you quickly swap the refresh rate at any time. You can also limit the battery's maximum charge level to 80% in the Vantage software to help the battery last longer, as keeping it fully charged all the time can degrade it. But this can't be enabled at the same time as rapid charge. And you can also make the battery charge slower overnight, again to help improve longevity. Battery life wasn't that different compared to last year's model, despite that having a 19% higher capacity. Ultimately, this is an above average result from a gaming laptop with an Intel HX processor, and it could be improved if you lower the screen's refresh rate to 60Hz. I did not manually change it for this test, as we test how most people would actually use the laptop, and I doubt most people know the shortcut and remember to do it every single time they unplug. Lenovo should just bring the automatic feature back. It only lost about 15% of its battery charge while asleep for 24 hours. But this isn't a fair comparison with the other laptops, as it depends on the size of the laptop's battery. Here's how much battery power was lost on average per hour, which is a fair comparison, and it's the second best result recorded so far, while last year's model used 75% more power while asleep. Let's check out thermals next. The CPU and GPU are covered by a standard cooler with just one heat pipe shared between them. Air comes into the fans through the holes on the bottom panel and gets exhausted out of the back, so there's no hot air blowing on your mouse hand. The Legion Space software lets us swap between different performance modes, which from lowest to highest are Quiet, Balance, Performance, and Custom. Performance and Custom modes automatically apply this overclock to the GPU to boost performance. You've got the option of using it in Balance mode, but not Quiet mode. In Custom mode, you can either enable Extreme mode or create your own profile to tweak power and temperature limits. We've tested Custom in both Extreme mode and with everything manually maxed out to see the differences. The power button stays on one of these colors, so you can always know which performance mode you're in, and you can swap between them at any time with the Function Plus Q shortcut. The internal temperatures are fine at idle. The rest of the results are from combined CPU and GPU stress tests, which aim to represent a worst-case full-load scenario. Custom mode on Extreme wasn't that much warmer than performance mode, but the GPU gets an extra 25 watts on Custom. Manually maxing out the fans and all power sliders increases the CPU temps a bit compared to just using Lenovo's built-in Extreme option. Running with the lid closed was only slightly warmer, so no problem if you want to dock the laptop. Strangely, using a basic metal stand to lift the laptop up runs a bit warmer compared to not using one at all, which also happened with the Legion Pro 7i. I asked Lenovo about it, and basically they said the cooler is designed to work best on a flat surface, as that's how most people would use it. I was told to imagine a vacuum cleaner. It's great at sucking in air when it's on a flat surface, but doesn't work so well above the surface. Anyway, similar deal for the cooling pad. It's warmer at lower fan speed, but cooler at higher speed. And if we max out both the cooling pad and the laptop fans, the CPU temp rockets up. That's because, like most laptops tested this year, once we've got an excess of airflow, CPU power gets prioritized at the expense of GPU power in this test. This also happens to a lesser degree just by maxing the laptop's fans out in custom mode. Otherwise, Extreme mode was running close to 115 watts, which is the maximum specified in the NVIDIA control panel software, and means this is a full-powered 5070 laptop GPU, and it's capable of reaching that with the CPU also running at 55 watts. Not bad considering the thinner design. CPU clock speeds might not be quite as high compared to some of the other biggest 16-inch laptops in this test, but this is still plenty of power for running games. Here's how an actual game performs with the different performance modes in use. I've got the native results in purple and DLSS upscaling on balanced in red to boost performance. But even without DLSS, custom mode was close to 60 FPS at ultra settings, running at the native 2560 by 1600 resolution of the screen. Good stuff. Even running on 100 watts of Type-C charge was at least somewhat usable. The CPU can use more power in a CPU-only workload like Cinebench, where the GPU is idle. And again, Type-C performance is lower compared to any of the modes with a bigger charger connected. You can't go above balance mode with a Type-C charger connected. CPU performance is on the lower side when compared against other laptops running the same processor. But I mean, it is a thinner laptop, and it's not really that much lower compared to a number of others anyway. Plus, it's still offering a 34% higher multi-core score compared to last gen, or an 8% boost to single core. Not bad. Performance lowers if we unplug the charger and run on battery power, but it's one of the better results, indicating good power efficiency, which we also saw earlier during the sleep test. It actually ends up slightly ahead of its bigger brother, or 27% ahead of the last gen model. As for keyboard temps, most laptops I test are in the low 30°C range on the keyboard at idle, and the Legion was in line with this and felt cool. Of course, it gets warmer when under load, but in quiet mode, the wrist rest and WASD keys still felt cool. The middle was a little warm, but not uncomfortable. It's a little warmer in balance mode, as this allows it to use more power, and the middle was starting to approach feeling uncomfortable, but it's alright. It's similar in the higher performance mode, because although this allows it to use even more power and generate more heat, the fans are louder too. Custom mode on extreme was similar, and ultimately, the main area you'd have your left hand while gaming remained cool when under load. The hottest point was a little warmer compared to the bigger Pro 7i with bigger specs, but the Legion 7i is also a thinner machine with less cooling capacity. Last year's was a little cooler too, but Lenovo also added the new custom extreme mode since then, which is probably why the newer one performs a bit better too, in addition to it having a newer CPU and GPU of course. But what about fan noise? The fans were only just audible when idling in quiet mode. They get louder in the higher modes, as expected, and I found performance mode to provide a good sweet spot without getting as loud as custom mode. And based on the game tests, you're only missing out on a couple of FPS by using performance mode, but you get 4 decibels less noise. It was on the louder side with custom mode set to extreme, but basically the same as the bigger Pro 7i, and only just slightly quieter compared to last gen. Alright, screen next. Lenovo are using an OLED screen this year, either 165Hz or 240Hz like I've got here, and it looks great. Vibrant colors, deep blacks, the usual benefits we've come to expect from OLED. The panel is advertised at 500 nits, which matches our testing whether HDR is on or off. It's using the same panel found in the Legion Pro 7i, which puts it ahead of most other OLED panels that we've tested in brightness. OLEDs are usually closer to the 400 nit mark, so Lenovo is generally a little brighter this year, but running an OLED at higher brightness increases the concern of long-term burn-in. The Vantage Space software does at least have some basic options to help mitigate that, though only the dark mode option was on by default. Other negatives of OLED panels include PWM flickering, which can give some people a headache after long use, and the glossy screen, which is more reflective and can be annoying if you're working in a bright environment. Screen response time was amazing. OLED panels are super fast, and that's the case here too, with all transitions occurring in less than a millisecond. Technically, this is the fastest OLED panel we've ever measured, but if we're being realistic, most of them are within the margin of error range and significantly faster to other panel types, especially Mini LED. The fast screen helps it get a fast score in the total system latency test, which is the amount of time between a mouse click and when a gunshot fire shows up on screen in Counter-Strike 2. It's impressive that it's competing with higher spec laptops. The Legion has advanced Optimus, allowing you to automatically get better FPS in games without a reboot. It's also got the classic muck switch, but that needs a reboot, and you'd only really need that if you want both Type-C ports connecting to NVIDIA. G-Sync is only available with Optimus off, but there's adaptive sync from the integrated graphics when Optimus is on, so no screen tearing however you play. There's a 1440p camera above the screen in the middle. It has IR for Windows Hello Face Unlock. Here's how it sounds while typing on the keyboard.
and on the side there's a physically sliding privacy shutter switch.
Alright, let's see how well Lenovo's Legion 7i performs in games. We've tested it with these settings for best results. Cyberpunk 2077 was still running at above 100 FPS at 1080p ultra settings without upscaling, and was 12% faster compared to last year's version with the RTX 4070 graphics. Stepping up to 1440p, and the Legion's 5070 was still above 60 FPS, but it now had a larger 19% lead over the last gen model. There's a smaller difference in Alan Wake 2. At 1080p, the 5070 was less than 5% ahead of the 4070 in average FPS, but the 1% lows had a massive 26% improvement with this year's newer processor, which just means the newer laptop provides a much more consistent experience. It's a similar deal at 1440p, and the next level up 5070 Ti laptops were around 30% faster than the Legion's 5070. The differences were smaller in Black Myth Wukong, with the 5070 just 7% ahead of the 4070 at 1080p high settings, which is only 4 FPS, so not much. Again, the 5070 Ti laptops were closer to 30% ahead, not to mention their extra 4 gigs of VRAM will likely last longer compared to the 8 gigs from the 5070. Performance with ray tracing on and upscaling enabled was generally better. The only strange thing was the average FPS between the 5070 and last gen 4070 was basically the same in Cyberpunk 2077, though the newer model had higher 1% lows, likely due to the newer CPU and maybe its faster RAM. 8 gigs of VRAM is a concern with the 2560 by 1600 screen. Maybe not today or even for a while, depending on the games and setting levels that you play at, but it's worth thinking about for a gaming laptop you're probably going to keep for a few years, especially for the price of this thing, where RTX 5070 Ti and even 5080 laptops come into budget. Unfortunately, Lenovo does not offer the 7i with graphics above the 5070. I think a 5070 Ti option would have been a nice sweet spot, even if they had to power limit it to 115 watts like the 5070. It would still perform better, and at least then you've got the option of extra VRAM. Here are the 3D Mark results. Content creator results were good, sometimes beating other laptops with higher specs in DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Photoshop. And combined with that beautiful OLED screen and SD card slot, this is a great machine for content creators that I've personally considered swapping to. There's a lot more customization available through the BIOS compared to most other laptop brands, except for perhaps MSI, who just have an insane amount of options. There's even undervolting and overclocking support if you want to get tuning, and enabling these options allows them to appear through the Legion Space software. Linux support wasn't great. Along with weird graphical glitches, my speakers, Bluetooth, and screen brightness adjustment didn't work. Pricing and availability will change over time, so check the links below the video for updates and to see if there are any current sales. Because if the 7i has a good sale, we'll add it to our gaminglaptop.deals website. We update that every day to include all of the best sales, so make sure that you check it out regularly to save money on your next gaming laptop with that link below. At the time of recording in late July, we're looking at $1,870 US for the RTX 5060 configuration with lower tier processor, or $2,180 for the RTX 5070 version that I've tested in this video. That's quite expensive considering we've already had an RTX 5090 laptop on the deals website for $21.99. Of course, the goal of the Legion 7i isn't to maximize performance per dollar value. It's about being a thinner, portable, higher quality design that can still pack a punch. And those sorts of things together just typically cost more money. And to be fair, those Legion prices I showed earlier are before sales. And if there's one thing that's certain in life, it's that you shouldn't pay full price for a new gaming laptop, because they always run sales. Still though, last year we had the 4070 version of the Legion 7i on the deal site for less than $1,500. And as we saw in the game tests, this year's 5070 isn't really that much better. But still, we should expect to pay more for this year's model because it's got newer features like the OLED screen. So is the Legion 7i worth considering? If you want a premium gaming laptop that's thinner, lighter, and still powerful, then yeah, it's definitely a contender, especially with that new OLED screen, clean design, and better performance versus last gen. But no laptop can be perfect. It's about finding a balance of what works best for you. The front edge doesn't need to be sharp. It's stuck with 8 gigs of VRAM, lacking Thunderbolt 5, Wi-Fi performance was weaker than expected, and while you could upgrade to an Intel Wi-Fi card for like $20, actually getting inside is a bit of a battle. The battery is smaller this year, but that's likely a trade-off for the lower weight, and the power efficiency improvements this gen means it still has similar similar runtime. All things considered, Lenovo's Legion 7i is still a great gaming laptop that's got even better this year. I would personally love to use it when traveling to events like CES and editing videos on the go, because it's portable, performs well, and that screen. I want to see how it compares against ASUS's Zephyrus G16 soon, so get subscribed for that. They're both thinner, higher-end machines, so that should be a good one. But if you'd rather trade some portability for performance or more VRAM, then check out Lenovo's bigger Legion Pro 7i over here. I'll see you in that one next.